So I'm going to take a hard turn. I'm going to read a small snippet of my novel. There was a dark, leaden weight where her heart used to be, and it was pulling her to the center of the earth. She wanted to let go and stop fighting gravity, to plummet to the floor. Every day, she showered and dressed and was on time for work. She forced herself to apply mascara and a little bit of blush. It kept people off her back. Noelle was just going through the motions. When her chest felt tight, her chin went up. She lied, telling a booth of rude, Rolex-sporting tourists from New York that the pecan pie was vegan. And as she lied for just a moment, normal crept back into her voice. Normal. It shocked her and left her ashamed. The cloud of grief wasn't absent, really, but it had rolled back for one brief moment. Its retreat shook her. She had grown used to its company. So now I'm going to tell you the story of the goddess Inanna. So Inanna was the great goddess, the great Sumerian goddess. She was considered the god of love and lust and war. She was a big character. They called her the bright star of the heavens. So she has a sister, Ereshkigal, who is the queen of the underworld, and Ereshkigal's husband has died. So Inanna wants to go down to the underworld and pay her respects. So she gets to the first of 7 gates, and she says that she wants to come in. And Ereshkigal is so angry at her loss. She says, that's fine, you can come in, but you have to pass through the same way everybody else comes in. So she goes to the 7 gates, and as she goes through, she is stripped of something. The first time she's stripped of her crown, and then her hair, and then her garments, until she has nothing left but her blood. And they take that too. I'm going to read from the myth. It says, the judges of the underworld surrounded her, and they passed judgment against her. And then Ereshkigal fashioned the eye of on Inanna, the eye of death, and she spoke against her the word of wrath, and she uttered against her the cry of guilt, and she struck her. And Inanna was turned into a corpse, a piece of rotting meat, and was hung from a hook on the wall. But luckily, Inanna has a fail-safe. She has told her servant that if she is not returned from the underworld in 3 days, to come get help. So her servant goes to all the different father gods asking for help, and they're all extremely busy and cannot help her, until they finally reach Enki, the god of water and wisdom, and he agrees to help. So what he does is he fashions from the mud underneath his fingernails these genderless beings that have one purpose. All they do is grieve. And so they go to the underworld and they weep and they wail with Ereshkigal. And she is so grateful for that empathy that she grants them one wish. And of course their wish is the corpse of Inanna. But the underworld is tricky. You can't just leave an empty space. She has to send back a substitute. And when she returns to the underworld, she realizes that her consort, Dumuzi, the shepherd god, hasn't grieved her at all. In fact, he's taken her throne and been ruling in her place. So she sends him to the underworld. She's pretty mad. But eventually she cools down, and his sister, who is just beside herself with grief, says, please let me go in my brother's place. And Inanna, knowing that that won't work either, agrees to let them each take turns 6 months in the underworld, 6 months out. So I'm sure you're like, cool story, what does that have to do with anything? Well, the hero's journey is linear, but the heroine's journey is spiral. She is already on her heroic road of trials before she even descends. She's successful. She's the bright star of heaven. She is the goddess who is succeeding. But her path has just begun. She has to meet the dark goddess, and she has to reconcile her feminine self and then her masculine self. So let's look at the modern woman. Okay, she starts out in the right path. She separates from the feminine because society doesn't value femininity unless it fits this really rigid, almost impossible ideal. I mean, for instance, in the new Star Wars movie, Rey is the main character of the movie. She's kind of the point. But go to the Target toy section, you will not find a toy of her in there. I know, I've looked. And there's a nationwide conversation about the fact that she is not represented in those packs of action figures, but she's still not represented, even though we've been having that conversation. Got off on a tangent there. So our modern heroine hustles for worth in a man's world. She identifies with success. She wants to be valuable. She wants to be successful. So she gets her degree, or she establishes a career, or she learns a trade, or she finds a really great husband and has a couple babies. Whatever it is, she's a success, right? She has won it all. But she feels empty and dry and worn down and tired and maxed out. She can't meet the Pinterest ideal of breaking the glass ceiling and being the exception that proves the rule, because she was busting her butt when she was pregnant and now she's pumping breast milk in a dirty bathroom somewhere. Or maybe she's finally walked off the stage with her law degree in her hand and the first thing her grandmother says is, "Tick-tock, your eggs are getting old. When are you getting married?" Or maybe she's schlepping the kids to soccer and piano and Mandarin classes and keeping fit in the gym, and she has a nice house with updated faucets and shiplap and subway tile, like on Fixer Upper. But she breaks and she goes to that dark place of the soul, the place that she's been avoiding all this time that's succeeding so damn hard. And she walks off the field. She has to descend the dark goddess. And the dark goddess is the destructive, devouring goddess. She is, quote, the one who is naked and walks on bones. She is the flaming one, the mother of the dead, and the terrible one. And she cleanses by fire. She strips from you everything that you have succeeded, all of your accolades, all of the labels, all the things that you thought were meaningful. And this is where I want to put my emphasis, because this is the whole point of the heroine's journey. You cannot have Inanna, the bright star of the heavens, without her sister Rishka Gal, the goddess of the underworld.